48 hours after filing the lawsuit, I received a text from Simone. She's been served. Process server delivered it this morning at 9:47 a.m. Now we wait. I sat in my apartment staring at those words, my heart pounding. Somewhere across town, Patricia was reading legal documents that accused her of fraud, forgery, and undue influence. Documents that listed every piece of evidence I'd gathered. Documents that threatened everything she'd stolen. I wanted to call her. I wanted to hear the panic in her voice. But that wasn't the plan. The plan required patience and strategy. Instead, I got dressed and drove to the coffee shop where I'd agreed to meet my friend Bridget for lunch. Bridget had known Dad for years. She'd been my college roommate and he'd always treated her like a second daughter. When I'd texted her about needing to talk, she'd agreed immediately. We sat at an outdoor table. I ordered the cheapest item on the menu and made sure my voice carried to nearby tables when I spoke. I don't know what I'm going to do, I said, loud enough for the couple at the next table to hear. The rent is due next week and I'm completely broke. Patricia took everything. My emergency fund access, even the car title. I have maybe $300 left. Bridget reached across the table and squeezed my hand. She knew I was performing, though she didn't know why. She'd agreed to help when I'd explained I needed witnesses to hear me struggling financially. Can you borrow from family? She asked, playing along. Uncle Tom won't return my calls. Aunt Sylvia sent me $50 and a card about learning to budget. Nobody believes Dad would actually do this to me, so they think I must have deserved it somehow. My voice cracked genuinely at that part. The pain wasn't fake, even if the financial desperation was. The woman at the next table glanced over sympathetically. Perfect. Word would spread. Patricia's friends would hear that I was broke and desperate, exactly as she wanted to believe. After lunch, I stopped at a pawn shop in a part of town where Patricia's friends would never go. I pawned my mother's necklace. Not the real one, which was safe in my apartment, but a costume jewelry replica I'd bought specifically for this purpose. The pawn shop owner gave me $200 and a receipt. I took a photo of the receipt and posted it on Facebook with a caption. Sometimes you do what you have to do. Miss you, Mom. Sorry. Within an hour, 3 people had commented with sympathy. One was Patricia's yoga instructor. The post would make its way back to her by evening. She'd see that I was selling family jewelry to survive. She'd think I was broken. And while she thought that, she'd relax. She'd get comfortable. She'd make mistakes. I drove home and changed into comfortable clothes. Then I opened my laptop and got to work. Because while I was publicly playing the broke, desperate daughter, privately I had Simone building a case that would destroy Patricia completely. Simone Rivera wasn't just any attorney. She was a shark. I'd chosen her specifically because she specialized in estate fraud and had a reputation for being ruthless in court. She didn't just win cases. She demolished opposing counsel so thoroughly they warned their clients never to commit fraud in the first place. When I'd first met her 2 weeks ago, she'd studied me carefully across her desk. You understand this will get ugly. Patricia will fight back. She'll try to discredit you, claim you're lying, say terrible things about you and your father. Can you handle that? She's already doing that, I'd said. At least now I'm fighting back. Simone had smiled, the kind of smile a wolf makes before hunting. Good. Then let's destroy her. Now she was building what she called the timeline. A detailed hour-by-hour reconstruction of everything Patricia had done from the moment Dad got sick until the day she filed the forged will. Every phone call, every document, every witness signature, every lie. 3 days after Patricia was served, Simone called me with news. We've been tracing the witness signatures on the forged will. You know, the 2 people who supposedly witnessed your father signing. Mr. Palmer's secretary and a junior partner, I said, remembering the names from the document. Right. Except the junior partner, Daniel Foster, moved to Oregon 6 months before the will was supposedly signed. He wasn't even in the state. I have employment records proving he was working at a firm in Portland on that date. My breath caught. So the signature is fake. Completely fake. Which means this isn't just forgery of your father's signature. It's forgery of witness signatures too. That's multiple counts of fraud. Patricia could face criminal charges, not just civil penalties. I closed my eyes, feeling something like justice beginning to take shape. What about the secretary? Still investigating. But if one witness signature is fake, the will is automatically invalid even without proving your father's signature was forged. This just became much easier to win. That weekend, Patricia hosted a party. I knew because Aunt Sylvia posted photos on Facebook. The house filled with people, wine glasses everywhere, Patricia laughing in a new dress. The caption read, "Celebrating life with dear friends at this difficult time." Celebrating. While Dad had been dead less than 2 months. While his belongings were still being sold off. While his daughter was supposedly broke and desperate. I scrolled through the photos carefully, noting details. The furniture was all new. Expensive leather couches, a designer coffee table, art on the walls that hadn't been there before. Patricia had redecorated completely, erasing every trace of Dad's taste and replacing it with her own. I did the math quickly. That furniture cost at least $40,000. The art was another $10,000 minimum. The remodel visible in the background, new floors, new paint, new light fixtures, was probably $50,000. Where had she gotten the money? The estate was still in probate. She shouldn't have access to those funds yet. Called Simone. Patricia just spent $100,000 redecorating the house. Where did that money come from? Life insurance probably, Simone said. Life insurance pays out immediately, doesn't go through probate. If your father had a policy with her as beneficiary, she could access that within weeks. He did. $500,000. I remembered Dad mentioning it when he'd updated his policies after marrying Patricia. He'd wanted to make sure she'd be taken care of if something happened to him. So she's burning through that money fast. But the faster she spends, the more desperate she'll become when we freeze everything in court. Simone paused. Keep documenting the spending. Every party, every purchase, every luxury item. It shows she's not a grieving widow carefully managing assets. She's someone who got access to money and immediately started living lavishly. I started a new folder on my laptop. Patricia's spending. I downloaded every Facebook photo from the party and began documenting every visible purchase. The parties continued. Every weekend, Patricia hosted gatherings, wine nights, book clubs, yoga sessions. She posted about them constantly, always with captions about healing through community and honoring Thomas's memory by living fully. But the photos told a different story. They showed expensive wine, catered food, designer clothes, and a woman who looked nothing like someone in mourning. She looked like someone celebrating a windfall. I documented everything. The dates, the guests, the visible purchases. I even drove past the house once during a party and photographed the catering truck from a company that charged $3,000 minimum for events. Meanwhile, I kept up my public performance of financial struggle. I posted about taking on freelance projects, about shopping at thrift stores, about meal prepping to save money. Patricia's friends saw these posts and reported back to her, I was sure. They probably felt sorry for me. They probably told Patricia I was finally learning responsibility. 2 weeks after the party, my neighbor Mrs. Henderson, the sweet elderly woman who lived 3 doors down from Dad's house, called me. Megan, honey, I need to tell you something. I don't know if it matters, but it's been bothering me. What is it, Mrs. Henderson? I was walking my dog late one night, maybe 2 weeks after your father passed, around midnight, and I saw Patricia in the driveway with trash bags. Big black ones. She was putting them in her car and she looked nervous. Like she didn't want anyone to see. My pulse quickened. When exactly was this? Let me check my calendar. I remember because it was the night before my granddaughter's birthday. Pause. April 16th. A Tuesday. I pulled up my timeline. April 16th was 3 days before Patricia filed the forged will with the probate court. 3 days before she submitted fraudulent documents to the legal system. What did she do with the bags? She drove off with them. Came back an hour later without them. I called Mrs. Henderson back the next day. Do you remember anything else about that night? Any details at all? Well, I did notice papers in one of the bags. The top wasn't tied completely and I could see white paper edges sticking out. And she hesitated. There was a smell, like something burning. It wasn't smoke exactly, but that burnt paper smell made me think maybe she'd been burning documents in the fireplace. Thank you, Mrs. Henderson. This helps more than you know. I hung up and immediately called Simone. Patricia was shredding and burning documents the week she filed the forged will. A neighbor witnessed her disposing of trash bags full of papers late at night. Can the neighbor testify to that? Yes. She's willing to make a statement. Perfect. That's consciousness of guilt. She was destroying evidence. The question is, what evidence? I thought about that for a long time. What would Patricia need to destroy? Original documents that showed Dad's real wishes. Earlier will drafts. Practice attempts at forging his signature. I need to check something, I said. The next Tuesday, exactly 2 weeks after Mrs. Henderson had witnessed Patricia's late-night disposal, I drove to Dad's neighborhood at 11 p.m. Trash day was Wednesday morning. I parked down the street and walked to the house, my heart pounding. 3 large trash bags sat at the curb, ready for pickup. I glanced around to make sure no one was watching, then grabbed the bags and carried them quickly to my car. I drove to a 24-hour storage facility I'd rented under a fake name and locked the bags inside Unit 247. Back home, I pulled on rubber gloves and opened the first bag. Inside were normal household trash items. Food containers, packaging, junk mail. The second bag was the same. The third bag was different. Beneath a layer of legitimate garbage, I found papers. Shredded papers, carefully torn into small pieces. Someone had tried to destroy documents but hadn't used a proper shredder, just ripped them by hand into confetti-sized pieces. I spread the shredded papers across my living room floor and started sorting them by paper type and color. Some were regular white printer paper. Some were cream-colored cardstock, the kind Dad always used for important documents. Some had letterhead I recognized from Dad's law firm. This was going to take hours, maybe days. But somewhere in this pile of shredded evidence was proof of Patricia's crimes. I started with the cream-colored pieces, laying them out and trying to match torn edges. It was like a jigsaw puzzle, except with hundreds of tiny pieces and no picture to guide me. My eyes burned from focusing so intensely. After 3 hours, I had reconstructed a partial page. The heading read, Last Will and Testament of Thomas Brooks, Draft Number 3. The date was 7 months before Dad died. This was an early version, one I'd never seen before. I kept working, my fingers sorting and matching, my brain analyzing patterns. By morning, I had pieced together 4 partial pages from different document drafts. The reconstructed pages were devastating. They showed multiple drafts of the will, all in different handwriting. Some sections were in Dad's handwriting, his distinctive flowing script. But other sections were in handwriting I didn't recognize. Patricia's handwriting, I realized, comparing it to birthday cards she'd sent me. She'd been practicing. These were trial runs, attempts to insert her own wishes into Dad's will while making it look like his words. Some drafts showed her leaving me nothing. Others showed her getting the house only. She'd been workshopping different versions, trying to find the most believable distribution of assets. But the most damning evidence was a single page that made my hands shake when I pieced it together. It was a practice sheet, just her writing Dad's signature over and over. Thomas Brooks, Thomas Brooks, Thomas Brooks. 20 repetitions, each one slightly different, each one getting closer to his natural hand. She'd been practicing forging his signature weeks before he died. I photographed everything from multiple angles, with close-ups of the handwriting. Then I sealed each reconstructed page in a plastic sheet and labeled it with the date I'd found it. This was evidence. Criminal evidence of premeditated fraud. I called Simone at 8 a.m. the moment her office opened. I have practice signatures. Multiple drafts with her handwriting. Proof she was planning the forgery weeks in advance. Where did you get this? Her trash. I retrieved bags from the curb on trash collection morning. Is that legal? Once trash is at the curb for collection, it's considered abandoned property. You're legally allowed to take it. This is admissible evidence. Her voice was sharp with excitement. Megan, this is smoking gun material. With the fake witness, the medical records, the metadata, and now practice signatures, we don't just have a strong case. We have an overwhelming case. What happens next? I'm filing a motion for emergency preservation of assets. We'll freeze everything. The house, the bank accounts, the life insurance money she hasn't spent yet. Patricia won't be able to sell anything else or transfer any more money. And I'm sending copies of your evidence to the district attorney's office. This is criminal fraud. She needs to face charges. That afternoon, Simone filed the motion. By evening, the judge had granted it. Every asset connected to Dad's estate was frozen pending the hearing. Patricia couldn't sell the house, couldn't access the bank accounts, couldn't touch anything without court permission. I wondered how long it would take for her to find out. Hours. Days. I got my answer at 9 p.m. when my phone rang with an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Patricia's voice came through, tight with barely controlled fury. Megan, we need to talk. I don't know what you think you're doing, but this is ridiculous. Your father made his wishes clear. You're making yourself look desperate and greedy. Call me back so we can settle this like adults. Gaslighting. Even now, even caught, she was trying to manipulate me. Trying to make her crime sound like my fault. Trying to make forgery sound like a simple family disagreement. I saved the voicemail and sent it to Simone. Document everything, she'd said. So I documented. The next morning, Patricia called again. This time I answered, putting the call on speaker and setting my phone to record. Recording was legal in my state as long as one party consented, and I consented to recording my own conversations. Megan, thank God. We need to talk about this lawsuit. Her voice was different now, not angry but pleading. Fake sweet, like when she'd offered me Dad's truck. What about it? This is all a misunderstanding. I was just trying to honor your father's wishes. If there was any confusion about the will, we can work it out privately. You don't need lawyers involved. Pause. I know money's tight for you. How about I give you $50,000 right now today, and we drop this whole thing? $50,000. She was offering me $50,000 to walk away from a $3.2 million estate. She thought I was desperate enough to take it. I'll think about it, I said neutrally. Don't think too long. My lawyers say this could get very expensive for you if you lose. After hanging up, I called Simone immediately. She just offered me $50,000 to drop the case. That's an admission of guilt. If the will was legitimate, she wouldn't need to settle. She'd just let the court uphold it. Simone's voice was sharp. Did you record the call? Yes. Perfect. Send it to me. And Megan, don't accept any offers without consulting me first. That $50,000 is nothing compared to what you're owed. I sent the recording and sat back thinking. Patricia was panicking. The asset freeze had hit her hard. She couldn't access money, couldn't sell anything, couldn't continue her lavish lifestyle. She was trying to buy me off cheap before the evidence destroyed her completely. But I wasn't for sale. Not for $50,000. Not for any amount. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about justice for Dad and ensuring Patricia faced consequences for her crimes. Over the next week, Patricia's panic escalated. She called 6 more times, each offer higher than the last. $75,000. $100,000. $200,000. Each time, her voice was a little more desperate, a little less controlled. I recorded every call and forwarded them to Simone. Each recorded offer was more evidence of Patricia's guilt, proof she knew the will was fraudulent and was trying to prevent the evidence from reaching court. Meanwhile, Simone was building our presentation for the hearing. She'd organized everything into 3 sections: The forgery evidence, signature analysis, practice sheets, fake witness, the motive evidence, Patricia's debts, her spending, her financial desperation, and the consciousness of guilt evidence, the shredded documents, the settlement offers, Mrs. Henderson's testimony about the late-night disposal. The judge will see this and immediately invalidate the will, Simone said. The question is whether Patricia faces criminal charges too. That depends on how aggressively the DA pursues this. What do you think they'll do? With this much evidence, I think they'll prosecute. This is clear-cut fraud, not a gray area. The hearing was scheduled for Monday morning. On Sunday evening, Patricia made one final attempt. She showed up at my apartment unannounced, standing at my door in expensive yoga clothes and designer sunglasses, her face tight with desperation. "Megan, please. Can we talk? Just you and me, no lawyers." I stepped outside, leaving my door open so my neighbor would see us talking. I wanted witnesses. "What do you want, Patricia?" "I want to apologize. Your father." He was confused at the end. I tried to help him organize his affairs, but maybe I made mistakes. Maybe the paperwork got mixed up. Her voice trembled, but her eyes were calculating. "I never meant to hurt you. Your family." Family. The word she'd used while stealing everything Dad wanted me to have. "Is that all?" Asked coldly. "I'll give you the house. And $500,000. You drop the lawsuit and we split everything 50-50. That's fair, isn't it? $500,000. Half the life insurance money. Plus the house." She was offering me roughly $2 million worth of assets to walk away. A few weeks ago that would have seemed like everything. Now I knew it was less than I deserved, and far less than the satisfaction of watching her face criminal charges. "I need to think about it," I lied. "Think fast. Tomorrow morning this goes to court. Once it's public, the offer disappears." She stepped closer, her voice dropping. "And Megan, if you push this, I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of daughter you really were. The arguments you had with your father, the money you borrowed from him, the times you disappointed him. I'll destroy your reputation." There it was. The threat beneath the plea. The real Patricia showing through the fake concern. I smiled slightly. "You do what you need to do, Patricia. I'll see you in court tomorrow." I went back inside and locked the door. Through the window, I watched her stand on the sidewalk for a long moment, her face twisted with rage. Then she got in her car, Dad's old Mercedes that she'd kept for herself, and drove away. Called Simone. She just offered me $2 million to settle and threatened to destroy my reputation if I don't accept. "Let her try," Simone said. "Tomorrow we destroy hers first. Get some sleep. You're going to want to be well rested for this." But I didn't sleep much that night. I lay awake thinking about Dad, about justice, about the long game I'd played perfectly. Patricia thought she could buy me off or scare me into silence. She'd been wrong about everything else. Tomorrow, the world would see exactly how wrong she'd been.